Hey, what's up, YouTube? We are back. We are going to be discussing the caves. I've now had like a day and a half to kind of go over the caves, fight a ton of Hivelords and dragons, and just kind of discuss what works, what doesn't work, what I recommend, and just like loadout suggestions at the very end of the video. But first, we're going to start off with just kind of going over the list of stratagems, what does and doesn't work, and just kind of commenting on them one by one. Starting off with like the machine guns, I noticed that machine guns do work fairly well, like machine gun and heavy machine gun in particular. Stalwart only was really working particularly well for me if I got like a hunter pouncer variant, but like it's rare to get that and you don't always know when it's going to happen. So Stalwart kind of suffered against the rupture strain in particular, just because it's medium pen. A lot of the enemies are medium pen, so definitely going to be aiming more towards the machine gun or the heavy machine gun in particular, especially if you're trying to deal with like the Hivelord. You know, heavy machine gun will definitely be a lot more effective. Anti-material rifle for like sniping the individual spewers and hive guards and dealing decent damage to the chargers from behind if you shoot their butt, but one I wouldn't really recommend too much. It's pretty good for the actual like dragons, but I don't know. As far as anti-tank goes, expendable anti-tank, recoilless, and quasar were like my top favorable ones. Commando is definitely a choice. Some people really like the pinging and like the auto tracking or just the laser guided. Some people like that, but I find the expendable anti-tank to just have a little more kick per individual shot, especially if you're trying to one-shot the dragons in the head. I find the expendable anti-tank to just be easier at doing that. Recoils was fantastic versus the Hivelords, but obviously you have to sacrifice the backpack slot. Not a bad option as well, especially if you want that instantaneous anti-tank damage versus the quasar, which is obviously auto-loading unlimited ammo, but you have to have the charge up. But you can't really go wrong with any of those anti-tank weapons. The spear it's useful because if you're doing tier 10 missions, you can take out the mega nests bile titan hold, like the really big hold with the spear, for instance, so you don't need to bring like a hellbound backpack or the ultimatum or like kill a bile titan as it's coming out or kill a charger while it's coming out. Top tips, by the way. You can bring the spear to do that, to destroy the hole. It's okay. I feel like it's not a bad option versus the Hivelord. The ammo economy is not as strong as the recoilless is, but you know, still a solid option for like dealing damage to the Hivelord. And then on top of that, you have the killing potential on dragons. I find the only time you should be using the spear though is when the dragon is like hovering above you, because if you haven't seen, the dragon does a swooping attack and it does a line of fire, run perpendicular away if you notice it's coming. Then it will like circle around and then just start flapping in front of you, spewing fire at you. Just run perpendicular once again. Basically, name a game versus the dragon spear is perpendicular running, 100%. But you should only fire the spear at that dragon if it's like hovering in front of you, because you're trying to hit its head. If you can hit its head, you can one-shot it with a spear. If you don't, it's like 2 shots to the body. It's like 3 if like one of the shots hits the wing, for instance, because you're like separating the damage across the entire body. So keep that in mind. Railgun felt okay. It's a little slow to deal a lot of its damage, but it's like decent for dealing with the spewers. It's pretty damn good at the charger butts, brood commander heads. It was okay versus the dragons. It's particularly hard to hit their head, especially when they're flapping up and down, but you know, you can definitely do it. I think it was like a 2 shot to their head with like 80% charge. So if you're like quite a bit of an aimer, you know, I'd go for it. Airburst rocket launcher was surprisingly good against the roach. Just once again, wait for him to be flapping in front of you rather than flying around, because if you fire at him while he's swooping around, you will fire at him, the initial explosion will happen, all the munitions will separate and then explode. Dragon roach will be like 50 meters to the left already because of how fast he flies. So I can't really recommend it. Wasp, solid option for dragons, but I feel like it just didn't work very well in the cave, and I wouldn't recommend it really for the hives. Gatling barrage, can't really use in the caves too well. A lot of the times you'll just clip the surface of the caves that you're in. When you're out and about, you know, probably good for like bug breaches and like dealing with like Hivelords, sort of. Like it's pretty good. Like if it comes out and you use it, it's pretty good. Airburst, wouldn't recommend. 120 millimeter barrage, it's okay for like out and about, but most of the time you're gonna be in the caves. Doesn't really work in caves. Same with the 380, same with the walking barrage. Laser was okay in the caves at times, and it's okay versus the Hivelord, but a lot of times the Hivelord will come up, you'll laser him, he'll go back down, and then your laser's gonna not really track him while he's underground very well. Napalm barrage, maybe one person bring it on team to deal with bug breaches that are exposed to the open air, or like dealing with like bug breaches while you're trying to deal with the Hivelord, fairly good. Rail cannon, sleeper pick for the dragon roach. Just once again, use it when he's flapping in front of you, okay? A lot of people just like throw it randomly while he's like darting around, and they're like, why did it miss? And it's like, dude, you gotta wait for him to actually be kind of sitting still. And it does one-shot him. So one person bringing the orbital rail cannon strike is actually like S tier for a tier 10 mission, just because you can kind of deal with every single one that spawns. Yeah, it's got a long cooldown, but typically you don't run into more than one roach at a time. My guess is like the spawn timer is like every 4 minutes on average, you run into a roach. Obviously they can stack up and have two at the same time. If you've been spending a lot of time in the caves, they can kind of stack up. But if you've been dealing with one at a time, rail cannon strike is fantastic. I highly recommend. Eagle strike, you guys already know it's great versus like out exterior. Not really great for the caves, obviously, but really good against Hivelords, because when they're up and they're very tall, you throw it right in front of them. It'll come from behind you, like the strafing run, and it will go the entire length of his body with the strafing run. It does a ton of damage. If you've never used the strafing run versus the Leviathan, same kind of idea. You can use the strafing run to like basically one-shot Leviathans. It does so much damage per individual strafing run if the majority of shots land on it. So, and you get 5 uses of this. This thing can shred the Hivelords. If everybody on your team brings it, and just every time the Hivelord comes up out of it, really good. Hivelords are very weak once you like crack open a layer of it, or you hit their head a bunch, like their mouth especially, because you can like do a bunch of damage, but it's like plated and you got to destroy the plate before you can do big damage to his stomach. So keep that in mind. Eagle airstrike, it's like pretty good, I guess, against a Hivelord. You can do some damage. I just don't think it's that much. Cluster, wouldn't really use it versus a Hivelord or in the caves, but it's like pretty good for like out and about dealing with the different breaches. Napalm strike, fantastic for breaches out and about, but not really useful in the caves. A lot of it will just land on the tops. Jump pack, pretty good. I didn't love it for caves too much because it's really hard to use and not like just hit the wall of the cave and stuff like that, but maybe you can use it better than I. Smoke strike can save you from like a dragon roach or like a hive guardian like spotting you or like pursuing you at times, but for the most part I would rather just bring like a regular one. 110mm rocket pods, wouldn't really recommend. I think it's okay versus dragon roaches if they're just like flying in front of you, but they just move so much that there's a really good chance the 110s might just miss. 500 kgs, as always, pretty damn good if you're outside the caves, but not really great for Hivelords just because it'll take you a while to get them back and you're not doing that much damage per individual eagle rearm. Whereas with strafing run, you're getting way more damage on target because you get 5 uses per individual rearm. Fast recon vehicle, honestly a lot better than I thought it was going to be in the caves. If you get a good driver, you can like blitz a mission, especially like the Hive Lung. I'll explain it more later, but the Hive Lung mission, it's genuinely way better to blitz into that objective and like plant the bomb and just get the hell out or just sacrifice yourself. It's so much better than like slowly creeping into the lair and dealing with all the enemies, especially if you get a bug breach. It'll take you so long to deal with it. It's just not worth it. The fast recon vehicle, very good for blitzing it. Or precision, it's okay. I think it works all right versus the caves just because a lot of times it comes more vertically down, but you're not always fighting in those open areas. So same with gas strike, but at least it's good for out and about like we've been talking about. EMS strike is better than it used to be. You are stunning a lot more reliably, staggering, and it can even stagger a bile titan now, which is interesting. Smoke got a little bit of a buff. The projectile also, just like EMS, does some damage, which is cool, but still not a huge fan of smoke in like 4-player co-op. HMG emplacement, pretty good. I wouldn't really recommend it too much in the bug missions, but you know, if you get some open air, I think you could make this work. Just not all objectives happen next to open air, but if you get a flag mission and you like call this down on the flag or near the flag, this can work really well. Rupture warriors will bother you a ton though, because you can't force them out of the ground when you use the HMG. Emplacement, shield generator, wouldn't really recommend. Tesla tower, wouldn't necessarily recommend. Same kind of idea as other turrets though, where they're pretty good, but rupture warriors and other rupture enemies are going to bully your turrets. They will. Same with the battlemen. I think you can use it pretty well in flag missions, but that's about it. Anti-tank mines in general, I wouldn't really recommend. I think the only mine that I would actually end up recommending is maybe anti-tank for like Hivelord killing, because anti-tank mine does like 2,000 damage. Let's say you set up the mines and you bait a Hivelord to slam down on top of them. That's a good amount of damage. Now, can you get that set up reliably? That might be challenging. So your mileage may vary with that. Grenade launcher plus supply backpack. Loved that combo. There's quite a few support weapons like laser cannon, grenade launcher, arc thrower, even weapons that have a limited ammo pair really well with the supply backpack, because you could be that guy on the team that just resupplies everybody with nades and stims and ammo, because it can sometimes be a challenge to get that ammo resupply. But just remember, you can call a decent amount of supply down in the middle of the caves due to the open air. Incendiary mines, same thing as the normal, wouldn't really recommend. Guard dogs in general, just fantastic. Probably the apex of the guard dogs though would be the gas guard dog. Just overall, just really strong, great CC and good killing potential. Shield backpack, honestly, not the ballistic shield, not that bad for rupture, just because you can block the rupture warrior coming out and like stop him. So if you're like the host and you're getting absolutely bullied by rupture warriors, because if you're the host, rupture warriors are way more accurate versus you versus your teammates. Ballistic shield, not bad, not bad. Honestly, kind of doing okay. Arc thrower, fantastic. Just make sure not to kill your teammates. Please don't kill your teammates. Thank you.
Sorry.
Quasar, as I mentioned earlier, fantastic with a guard dog. You can even bring a supply backpack, honestly, if you wanted to. Just chuck a lot of gas grenades around and stuff like that. Gas mines, very nice for rupture enemies in general, and a little bit more usable in caves, just because you can just chuck them down, and they're not that conducive of like killing your teammates, which is not bad. I do like gas mines quite a bit. I find both machine gun and Gatling sentries are good choices for the caves. I like putting these in open air areas and just walking away, but rupture enemies will bully them, so keep that in mind. You might need to protect them with an explosive weapon. Mortar sentry, would not recommend. Autocannon and rocket sentries, great for dealing with the Hivelord if they don't get destroyed by the Hivelord or a random enemy, but they can cook a decent amount of damage off of the Hivelords just because it's like bonus damage per second when they come out. If you know a Hivelord is about to come out, you can just quickly chuck one to the left or right of them, and then you get ready to do your DPS rotation. It's just bonus damage, and it can be really nice. The problem is that they're very susceptible to random enemies or the Hivelord just saying, screw you. EMS sentry, not really. If you're going to pick a mech, absolutely pick the Emancipator mech. The Emancipator mech is so overpowered in Hive missions in general for the caves. It's just so good. This thing will make your mission so much easier. If everybody in your team brings mechs, your cave mission, it went from like nightmare scenario to like super easy because you can breeze past enemies. You have so much ammo. You can deal with like so much more. You can force like ruptured enemies out of the ground by shooting a couple times. It's great versus charge. It's great for the spewers. Just so good. And it's also a good choice versus the Hivelords. Not like the best choice, but like a good choice for like singling out one individual armor plate and doing a good amount of damage to it. All by itself, it won't like crack open the armor plate, but if like 4 of your teammates all shoot at the same armor plate versus that Hivelord, you're easily going to get through to it and do the bonus damage afterwards. So I do like the Emancipator mech. Also, the mobility inside caves, very usable. It's not that tight. You can definitely make it work. The only problem I have with it, it's a little awkward for like stalker layers, so you might have to get out and it's like big time risky, but other than that, it's really good. Sterilizer, it's good, but you might as well just use a gas guard dog, honestly. The gas guard dog is like definitely the better of the two. Directional shield, wouldn't really recommend, maybe for the spewers, but it's not going to help you versus the rupture, so you might as well just use the ballistic at that point. Flame sentry, I would rather use like other sentries, honestly, in general. And tank emplacement, fantastic for the Hive Guardian, pretty good versus the dragon, and I mean pretty good because he will cook you while you're shooting at him, but you might be able to trade with him or get him before he gets you, but not a great versus the dragon, but it does work fairly good against Hivelord. You got to be careful, like he can single you out pretty easily, and this is like good for the other 3 teammates while he's focusing on that one teammate. You know, everybody just nailing him with the anti-tank emplacement does pretty damn good damage. Portable Hell Bomb, fantastic for the Mega Nest, fantastic for like an extra one for the lung mission. If you've been doing the lung mission, you might have noticed that a lot of the Hell Bombs land on the roof above the lung, which is like a really bad bug. So if I'm ever doing a lung mission, I like to actually just have an extra portable Hell Bomb just to make that mission really simple in case like someone loses their Hell Bomb or something like that, but also cooks the Hivelords. You'll need about 15 of them because it does about 10k damage to the 150k the Hivelord has, but it is good damage if you do bring it as well. Just make sure to arm it maybe a bit early before you get to the Hive Guard or Hivelord and like drop it. Not too early, not to like blow yourself up, but good choice. Hover backpack, not bad for the caves. There's a lot more verticality than you think there is, but I don't know if I would take it over the other backpacks personally. One True Flag, if you're aura farming, please don't bring the K9 unless you're playing solo. You're just going to kill your teammates, trust me. De-escalator, not a bad choice, but not my first choice to go with. I think it's just too easy to kill yourself in close quarters or kill a teammate. I'd actually rather just go for the normal grenade launcher personally, even though it is fairly good against the ruptures. Laser cancer entry, not really in general. And then Warp Pack, always fantastic for caves and just in general gameplay, but you definitely need to use it appropriately to get the most out of it. Epoch, good against the dragons, good damage in general to the wings and to the main body. Wouldn't really recommend recommend it for the Hive Lord just because you're not doing that much damage. It's like decent damage, but I think at that point you're kind of better off using like another weapon. But it's like pretty good, especially like if eventually you like crack open something, you'll do some good damage per second because you are getting 3 shots off reload and it's like fairly fast reload. And you can have a backpack of some other kind. Primary weapons I'm mostly going to recommend are explosive oriented. So like we're talking like crossbow versus eruptor. Crossbow's a little bit better because eruptor's damage is split between some explosive and a lot of the shrapnel. So crossbow ends up being a little bit better. If you need to objective clear, Passion Plasma actually shining a bit just because you can force the rupture enemies out of the ground. Blitzer, as always, just a great choice for caves. Scorcher forces enemies up out of the ground if you shoot above them. Purifier does as well on the normal shot or the charge shot. Unfortunately, Torture does not affect ground enemies underground, which kind of sucks. The Halt secondary fire is great for forcing enemies up out of the ground, which is actually pretty sick, but you have to get good at like swapping back and forth. Other than that, we're starting to look at just medium pen weapons. You can use light pen weapons, especially weapons that have a lot of like knockback, but I find that the Rupture Warriors definitely benefit from having medium pen rather than light pen. I know there's going to be a lot of comments on like light pen sucks, light pen sucks. This is just one of those variants, which like medium pen just generally does feel good and feel better than light pen. So like Slugger with the medium pen plus a lot of stagger, same with the Dominator and stuff like that. You will, if you're the host, take a lot of chip damage because it's much harder to dodge Rupture Warriors than it is on the non-host. Non-host people, you can kind of just back up or dive away and dodge it pretty reliably. Whereas with the host, you're going to be taking a lot of chip damage. So I'd probably recommend an explosive weapon. But yeah, like your typical medium pen weapons apply here. You have to pick your choice of medium pen weapon. It depends on what you like, but there's quite a few out there. Secondary wise, if you have the ultimatum is very nice to use just because you can deal with Bile Titan nests, you can deal with Bile Titans, you can deal with charges, you can do mass ad clear. You can even do some decent damage to the Hive Lord with it if you get close enough. It's like a nice all-arounder. You definitely don't need it. I've been taking the Bushwhacker a lot since I've been bringing crossbow and other like explosive weapons if enemies get too close to me. Talon is obviously a big one for medium pen. Your Verdict and Senator apply here, and then Grenade Pistol if you need just help dealing with more bug holes. Throwables, I've been loving the gas grenades. They are so good. Arc grenades are a top contender as well, forcing rupture enemies out, and just generally just like being really good CC and like ad clear. If you need thermites are great for the Hive Lords. You just throw 3 out every time you die or resupply, get some back. Pyrotechnic are fantastic. It's just doing damage, and then they turn into incendiary grenades afterwards, which is awesome. Incendiary grenades also are nice. Your typical high explosive nade. Urchin, okay, but I feel like at that point just bring the gas grenade, it's just better. Now we're going to talk about the different missions and like what I'm kind of building around when I'm going for them. So I just picked a random mission here. When you're reading the map, I kind of did this in my last video, but the cave networks are here. You can actually see some of like the openings. You can in fact choose to dive onto the top of a lot of these areas. I would probably recommend dealing with like cave stuff first a lot of the time because the mission really ramps up in terms of difficulty after you finish the main mission, just because like the timer for the reinforcements, especially like bug breaches, goes down quite a bit to increase the intensity. So like going for like mega nests and like side objectives first, as long as they're like fairly easy, is like a good pathway to doing that, but it kind of depends on the team. If you guys are just barely getting by with just completing the main objective, go for the main objective first. Don't worry about the side objectives. They're bonuses afterwards. But if you're normally doing like full clears, I would probably recommend doing side objectives first, then the main objective. It depends on the team though, and you'll have to like really look into like how you tend to play. For the Hive Lung, I love to do the Hive Lung objective first. Just get that out of the way, blitz into it, just do it. For the mining mission with the new vehicle, a lot of people have been telling me that they've been constantly failing it whenever there's a Hive Lord. A lot of people are just looking at it in the wrong way. The way I feel like you should be looking at it if there's Hive Lords around is just don't touch the objective when the Hive Lord is walking around or like swimming around. He will leave occasionally, which gives you the opportunity to do some of the mission. Basically, it seems like enemies don't attack the truck at all unless you're interacting with it. If you're on it or in it or around it, they will attack it. But you can kind of just leave it alone and either deal with the Hive Lord or like just wait for him to just leave for a while, because he does leave. If you're not like constantly like out and about, just like walking around in the dunes and stuff like that, he will leave for some amount of time. He'll come back after a while, and at that point, you know, leave the objective again. But like you can just kind of like go in and out. Now that being said, if you really want to risk it, the all-terrain vehicle does have a pretty damn good autocannon on it to do a decent amount of damage to dragons and the Hive Lords. I wouldn't risk it. It does have an HP pool, and it will blow up if you're not being careful with it. And on this mission in particular, you got to go pretty far with it. So dealing with the Hive Lord first is probably the way I would look at doing these missions. If you want to know if you're going to be getting a Hive Lord or a dragon, by the way, if you use the Helldiver's Companion app, the website, it will tell you what's currently active on the planet. It should absolutely say this in game, and before anyone puts it, it should. They absolutely made a mistake by not putting this here. It's like a big L from Arrowhead on this one, but this is how you know. Basically, it's guaranteed that I'm going to be running into Hive Lords. Sometimes you can get both at the same time because as they transition, one stays on a bit longer than one, but it seems like every couple hours it rotates. As far as what I would pick on loadouts, it kind of depends on if I'm going to be running into Hive Lords or not. If I'm going to be bringing Hive Lords and I want to like min-max versus Hive Lords, my like go-to loadouts typically are going to look something like this. Going for like mech, probably recoilless, definitely strafing run, absolutely love it for cooking them. And then like rocket sentry or anti-tank emplacement are like my kind of go-tos, especially if I have teammates alongside. You might be like, why are you taking mech and not just like another thing? I love the mech for dealing with some amount of the Hive Lord and dealing with other enemies at the same time, but also the mission afterwards, the mech is just so good. It's hard not to just make it an instant lock. The mech is like insane. If you are struggling with these missions, bring the Emancipator mech. It is so good. Like, you don't even have to be a good pilot to be good with it. It's just so good. But this would typically be my Hive Lord loadout. I would typically have like a good weapon for just mobbing and ad clearing. I'd probably end up putting on the ultimatum for more damage, and then I would have thermites for just even more damage, just to absolutely cook the guy every time he comes out of the ground with all my ammunition and stuff like that. Let's say we're not dealing with a Hive Lord and we're dealing with more of a dragon or more of a typical, and I would say easier game when you're not dealing with the Hive Lord. I would like swap out some of these for maybe like a Gatling Sentry. I would probably get rid of my Red Sentry and I would go for like maybe like a Gas Guard Dog and a Quasar. This is just one example. You could swap this out for maybe like a heavy machine gun. You could keep the Gas Guard Dog, but the ammo on the Gas Guard on the heavy machine is a bit rough. So maybe I would go for maybe a portable Hell Bomb or a supply backpack. Autocannon is always fantastic if you want to like just run a autocannon and then maybe bring like another turret, or like maybe bring another red stratagem for when you are outside the caves. Napalm Strike is like an obvious contender, 500 kg, Gas Strike, obvious solid ones. If you're dealing with dragons, as I was saying earlier, one person on the team bringing Orbital Railgun Strike, fantastic for dealing with dragons. Really recommend it. It can really trivialize them. So big time would look into that, especially if you've been ignoring it recently. Maybe throwing in the grenade launcher, really nice, even for just like nuking down the lung. Because if you guys didn't know, you can kill the lung with just normal damage. It's just a lot of damage. I don't know the HP pool in that lung, but it's a lot. Obviously, the Hellbound Backpack one-shots it, but it'll survive a lot of ultimatum shots. It'll survive a lot of anti-tank shots, but you can, as a team, just shoot at it and deal with it. Like at one point, I think the first time we killed the lung, we like lost the backpack to the moat and we just shot it, and I was like unloading grenade launcher shots into it. If I am maybe using something that's more unlimited ammo-wise, maybe I do like Arc Thrower with like Gas Guard Dog to cover my back, or like one of the other guard dogs. Maybe Shield Generator Backpack would be a solid contender as well. Yeah, that's more or less how I would look at the stratagems. If you guys feel like I missed any like potential ones out there, please let me know. It does depend on the mission though. Like flag stratagem missions, the battlements and just emplacements in general tend to just be better, and turrets also perform a lot better because typically the flags, you have to call in the flag, right? So there's a big open space above you, and you can really utilize that to the best of your knowledge. Like the most beneficial thing that I can say to you is that you can call in turrets a lot more than you think. Look up. Even on the oil mission, there's like this tiny little hole in the ceiling for the ship to come into. You can actually summon turrets in that one spot to help you on that mission. It does help a ton. So look to turrets, protect the turrets, use explosive weapons to knock them out or stun weapons to knock them out. Like the rupture strain is what I mean. Definitely look at like some amount of anti-tank. Like with this loadout here, I would probably be using thermites just to make sure I have some amount of like neutral game anti-tank for like the occasional charger or like Bile Titan or something like that shows up. Bile Titans will show up in the caves. Careful. That's how I look at these missions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below on anything that's like really working for you and maybe I missed something. Please let me know. Consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribing on the video as well. It really helps out the stream and the channel in general. And that being said, come on by the streams. I've been streaming this game so much in the mornings to early afternoons. On NA times, it's more like early morning to like afternoons for EU. Come on by, come watch the stream, come ask me questions. We'll be doing a lot of tier 10 bug missions going into the future, and we can't wait for that Warbomb video to be coming out. Much love, YouTube. Peace out. Bye.